This is Lance from Lance's Auto Vlog, and I'm back with another video. So customer comes in, says he wants to put his new speakers in his BMW M3. No problem. We could definitely put the speakers in, but there's one challenge. This car has an entire aftermarket system in it, so we can't just drop the Bavv Sound speakers in the factory locations. We actually have to go through the wiring, take all this aftermarket stuff out, clean it all up, go back through the boot, do whatever we got to do to make it look stock. We're going to hook up everything to this, not necessarily this, but this is the radio you have, so we're going to use some of that stuff on the radio, and obviously put the door panels back on, which are back there. And this car is really old school because this car actually had screens in the rear headrest and a PlayStation. And then, so the goal is to also take out that video repeater, reattach the door panels, put all the speakers in, which will be some fun. And I'm willing to bet the car doesn't have the factory amp, but we went around that factory amp when I talked to the customer, and we're gonna basically pull out, replace the factory cups on the door panels, pull out all this crossovers and amplifiers and all the piggyback stuff, and this custom mounted box, and try to make this car look original as possible. That's the goal. So we're gonna pull everything out, like I said, all the wiring, everything that's not factory, and put the car back together the way it should be. Fix the door panels too, glue those back on, do all that good stuff, and take you on that journey. All right, part one, take all this apart. And we're back. So we went, I should say, I took this car apart. I took the lowers apart, put all the wiring out of here that was aftermarket. Still got some zip ties to clean up. I even pulled the radio out because, in all honesty, I didn't know what was behind there, and I really didn't want to have to run into something and be surprised. Pull all the aftermarket wiring out of here. Pulled the seats out because I had no choice. All the wiring was in here. Front seat. Everything was mounted back here, and so now I got to make something to fit that hole, fix it. And the factory amp was wiring, everything's here, so I'm surprised I didn't use that, but I'm going to be using that next time. I got to run new wiring, and the customer went as far as to mount that already, so I got to figure out how he did that and then fix all the wiring that he did. And then this is, oh, look at that custom PlayStation. This is all the wiring that I pulled out of this car, every bit of it. So everything's out. Now I gotta solder a new harness for the radio, mount the kick panel speakers, because that's gonna be the easiest, and then try to get this car back together, and then I can put in the new amp in the back and run all the wires. But I gotta get everything in, at least the rear deck, the front kick panels, and the door speakers in their spots that I can put together. And then I have to figure out how to glue this back together. The customer took this off. These are supposed to be on the door panel, so I got to figure out how to fix that for the customer. He's paying for it, so, and time keeps moving on. And we're back. So we're back on day 2 of this BMW build, as far as getting the new speakers put in and the new amp and DSP put in. Literally, we already put in the 5 1/4s that were in the kick panels. These were them. These were the ones that were in the car, which were MB quartz. These are pretty some old schools. And in the rear deck was these Eclipse 8052s, which are 6.5-inch driver. And there was also a set of tweeters back there as well. Here, looked like MB Court tweeters. And they had DEI crossovers on something and Crunch crossovers on something else. I don't know how that worked out, because the speakers were MB Court and it was a 3-way, and the rear were basically a 2-way, and they figured out how to make all that work. And then they had a 4-channel amp, 4 channels, running everything. It works, so, but we're going to change that so it's going to be more efficient. So we're going to put the Bavv Sound tweeters in, and the Bavv Sound mid, which is this one right here. But the challenge we ran into is that this grill, this is the grill that came out, the MB Court. If you look at the MB Court grill and you look at the replacement Bavv Sound grills, which are supposed to fit the factory holes, they're literally the hole's bigger than the actual tweeter mount. So I reached out to one of my good friends, Gary Bell, and he made me these rings out of acrylic. So I'm gonna now be able to put these in that hole and cover it up and still have the factory look. That just means I need to get a laser cutter or something of that nature to make it all work. So we got to make those speakers, those mounts fit in there, secure the speakers in there, and make it all work. So that's gonna be the challenge. Door panels are always gonna be fun. The tweeters are no problem. The only thing I'm not a big fan of is that they want you to glue these tweeters in, and I guess that's okay, but you know, or silicone them in. They give you all the materials to do it, but there's no true instructions in the box because the customer opened it up. If there was instructions, I never saw it. So let's get those rings put on. I got to paint them black to match the Bavv Sounds tweeter grills, and also replace the mid driver grills and get it all together so I can use something to actually glue that door panel onto the door, and so let that dry while I get everything else going. All right, stay tuned. And we're back. So third day on this BMW 98 3 Series. We got everything wrapped up and tuned. Used the new Audison Prima AFC 8.14, I think it is, or 8.11. I'll double check that model number, but I think it's 8.14 bit. And I'm pretty impressed. There are some things that you could say that's different because the software is completely different. But it's kind of cool because you can switch between parametric and graphic on individual channels, and I'm still learning the software. It has the EQs in it. It's got a parametric graphic. It's got a very interesting crossover with all kinds of settings for it. The input sensitivity adjustment has got way more dynamic range that you can do digitally. That makes it a very impressive DSP when it's all said and done. So if I had to review it, I got a lot to learn. When it's all said and done, I have a ton of stuff to learn on it. What I mean by a ton of stuff means that it's got more things than the previous bit software firmware has on it. And like I said, I'm still just going through a process of learning it. But we took these Bavv Sound speakers and we installed them. So in this case, we took the tweeter, put it there. We put the mid, and then this had the MB Court mid in it. So if you notice, there's a panel, the ring and ring. We had to actually have those rings made, which I talked about earlier, and it came out really nice. We used this customer's existing radio. He had a Kenwood. The USB on here doesn't really support the iPhone, but Bluetooth audio streaming works really well, and he uses a flash drive, and the car was tuned off of his flash drive and Bluetooth. Would I normally do that? No, but in this case, it worked out really well. We got the Bavv Sound speakers in the kick panel. Came out really good. And then, as you can see, we put the Bavv Sound 6x9s in there, and then we have the actual Audison amp, and that panel goes back in there. I'll show you a completed picture when it's all said and done. And you got the Audison AFC 8.14-bit. Man, this thing, it's different. One way different is that it's night and day from past generations bit software. So if you haven't played with Audison in a while and you're looking to do something different, and I'm really impressed by this. It's leaps and bounds from their bit firmware from last on their bit, their AP 8.9-bit, the Forza one, the bigger one, the 980 by 8 or 85 by 9 or 8, whatever it is. That amp's a good amp. I have one personally, but this one's pretty damn impressive for the power it has and the adjustments it has. It's leaps and bounds. So stay tuned for the next video, and Catch you on the other side.